Hi friends, this is Carissa from Inky Fairy Designs, and I'm back here with another Brutus Monroe project this week. I'm going to show you the supplies that we're using. First, we're going to be using this Simple Blends stencil. It's the Gnome stencil. I love this one. And then we're going to be using this mixed media stencil, which is the basket weave or weave something. I'll have all of the products listed below for you. We're going to be using these circle foundation dies. We're going to be using this cute gnome stamp set, Gnome Place Like Home. I'm just using the 1 sentiment in there from that one, but it's a great stamp set. And then also Gnome Home, this paper collection. Some of the other supplies that I'll be using to make our card today is some purple tape and some blending brushes, because I'm going to be doing some ink blending through that gnome stencil. So I've got black oxide, pumice stone, antique linen, and vintage photo pulled out. Also going to be doing my stamping with the detail ink and Raven. I do have a simple stitched rectangle die to create my card layers, and then also this distressed wood grain cardstock. Just wanted to add a little bit of texture behind my image today. So these are all of the supplies that I'll be using, and let's go ahead and get started. So I started by cutting down a piece of cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I just wanted a standard card front size, as I wasn't sure what I would do, if I'd use the whole panel or if I would cut it out. And I just started by blending the ink through the stencil. You can see I also put a piece of purple tape, that's what we needed it for, on the side to create a little bit of a hinge. That way I can lift up the stencil and it won't shift, and I can take a look and see if I like the blending, if I need to add a little bit more shading or what. So that's super handy. You could also use like the pixie dust. That might help with the intricate pieces of this stencil, like the beard especially was a little bit hard to blend through just because it moved. You can see that. So I'll just continue blending through this stencil with the different distress oxides until I'm happy with it. I do take the corners of the blending brushes and kind of get into those little nooks and crannies of the stencil and get a pretty good blend. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm making this card. Our challenge this week from the team at Brutus Monroe was to think about our hero, or people who we consider our heroes, and what we would make for them. So that is where this card came from. Basically, my husband is my hero and my rock, and I have always said that I couldn't go through life without him by my side. We are um, absolutely partners in this life and partners in raising our children, and um, I think we keep each other sane. We make each other laugh, and he definitely makes me laugh. And there's so many times in life that things would come up and I would probably be falling apart if it weren't for him. So that is why I'm making this card. There is no one like him in this world for me, and I'm so lucky and blessed to have him in my life, to have him the father of our 5 children. And we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, which is a pretty big deal, and I am super excited about that, and that's why I'm making this card for him. So we have had little gnomes in the different houses that we've had over the years. A lot of them have unfortunately broken within moves and stuff like that. But I love gnomes, he loves gnomes, and I just thought this would be such a super fun and cute card to make for him. And I had picked up this stencil a while ago, and then I got the Gnome Home paper collection, and I was just itching to make something with all of these cute gnome stuff. So there I thought I was done with the blending, but I thought, I think it needs something a little bit extra. So a couple weeks ago, maybe last month or maybe even 2 months ago, I can't remember. I'll put a link to the video though up here in the upper left-hand corner, or the upper right-hand corner. I did a video about stenciling through a stencil or stamping through a stencil. And I thought I would do that same kind of technique, but I would use another stencil on top of this stencil to create some pattern. So I started off by sponging on some of that vintage photo, but I didn't really like the way that it looked. So I pulled out the Salty Ocean again and just went right on over top of that. It created pretty cool shading and texture there, and I was really happy with it. So like I said, I wanted to pull out this this sentiment, "There's no one like you," for my hubby, and I'm just going to stamp that right over the stenciling. Now I had a bit of a trouble, or not trouble, but just the Distress Oxide didn't really want to take the ink. It just kind of fogged it up, so I ended up stamping it, I believe, 4 times, and really try to get that to be very clear. But you can see that, especially over the beard, like the black soot and pumice stone, it just looks a little bit foggy, but it's totally fine. After this, I decided that I did want to fussy cut this out. I didn't want to have just this plain background around the gnome, and I really wasn't sure how I could fill that in. Since there isn't a mask that comes with this particular blending Simple Blend stencil. Some of the Simple Blend stencils do comes with masks, but this one doesn't, and I just thought it would be super simple to fussy cut it out since it's a very simple shape, and then I could pick out some of that fun pattern paper and put it behind him. So that's what I ended up doing, and you can see it doesn't really take me too long to fussy cut around this cute little gnome. Now I'm going to pull out the papers, and I just kind of flipped through them a little bit and decided which one I wanted to use. Kind of went back and forth, and then I ended up going with that one with the blue background and the red mushrooms. Then I took the paper, or the lunch bag cardstock, cut it in half, and then scored it at 5.5 to create a top folding A2 size card base. And then I did die cut that pattern paper with that simple rectangle shape, which is a full card front size, so it's 4.25 by 5.5, and I'm just going to attach that right on the front of that card base. And then for some reason, I think when I ran it through, I have like a Zutter machine that cuts paper in half. So it's really great for making card bases, but I think my paper may have been crooked when I did this particular cut. So here you can see I'm trying to fix it. It's not lining up. So I'm just going to pull out my my guillotine trimmer. I'm going to line it up in there and just remove that little edge, and you can see on the top here a little bit of that edge. I'm just going to remove that right off, and then it fixes it good enough. It's not the perfect card, it's a little bit wonky, but hey, that's me. And so I did die cut that that wood grain paper with the simple die shape from Brutus Monroe, and I'm going to place that behind the gnome just to kind of break up the patterns a little bit. But before I did that, I wanted to do some more blending, or just inking up of the edges of this pattern paper. So I'm going to use the vintage photo for that, and then I'm going to clean off my blending brush off to the side on a scratch piece of paper, and then I'm going to take the old paper, which one? Antique linen, and then I'm going to do the edges of the wood grain just to give it a little bit of dimension, and so it's not so stark white behind the gnome, and to break up the pattern paper. So once I'm all done with that, I'll go ahead and just attach that with some adhesive using my ATG there, and pop that right in the middle, and then I'll put some dimensional adhesive behind the gnome and put him right in the middle there. So you can see I'm just kind of filling that up with some dimensional adhesive. Then I'll remove all of the backing and pop him right in the middle of the card. And that pretty much completes the card. Kept it very simple. And I just love the Simple Blends stencils. It was really fun. My husband saw me actually making this card and he thought it was such a cute stencil too, which is good because I told him that I was making it for him. So I was glad that he liked it. And just, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so that you can see more videos like this one. If you're inspired by something that you see here on the Brutus Monroe channel, please use the hashtag Brutus Monroe. And if you're inspired by something that I create and you post it on social media, you can always tag me at Inky Fairy Designs. I love to come around and see what you're making and leave you some love. I hope you did enjoy this video and maybe were inspired to kind of look at the Simple Blends stencils and see how you could use them in your own crafting. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.